All right, here we go.
All right, is it
We are live and we are ready to go. Happy Thursday to everybody. Hopefully you're having a wonderful Thursday. I almost was late for our own live stream because I was watching the Tucker Putin interview, which I find incredibly compelling and interesting and all of that. But this isn't a political show. I'm not going to get into it. It's on X if you want to watch it. I will say this from just a live streaming platform, social media standpoint. I think what we're seeing is something historic. You have an independent journalist going to interview the head of a country who's at war with another country, and you're seeing another side to things. Agree with them or not, I mean, make your own conclusions on that, but you're getting to see another side. That is quite incredible into the mind of how these guys think. But Ben, thanks for being here. Thanks for being part of this. Looks like you said you're parking, trying to find a place to eat. Let us know where you are. Maybe we can Google something for you. I don't know, depending on where you are. Oh, he says here, you guys. He says, I'm still in, how do you say that, Karen? You know the Spanish.
El segundo.
El segundo.
The second.
That being California then? I think it's still in California. AJ Outdoors, thanks for being here as well. And Senior Mysterioso, thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the stream. We're getting to our topics here in a hand just in a moment. Before we do that, I want to show you this. For those of you that have seen the social media, you've seen I've been kind of busy making things. And I got a 3D printer and I've been trying different things, and I made my first prototypes of popping corks. And they got a pretty good sound. I don't know if you can hear that. Hopefully you can hear that, but it's got a pretty good sound, and I made them in a couple of different colors.
Pink.
The next thing on the fishing channel is going to be trying them out. And we're gonna do that. I don't know if it'll be this weekend.
Oh, fishing in the rain.
Yeah, fishing in the rain. Yeah.
Fishing in the rain.
It's like every weekend though. It's like we cannot catch.
I know. That's why we gotta go fishing in the rain.
So I'm just gonna have to take off work. I'm just gonna have to go. That's just what's gonna have to be.
You're not gonna have the glorious feeling. We're happy again, fishing in the rain.
I don't think so. I don't think that's a thing.
I'm not gonna tap dance like
tap
Grace
dance.
Kelly does.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's the thing. No, I don't think so. But anyway, you said the live stream froze.
Yeah, it did. For a second, it's freezing. I do see it, but I don't know why. It's going fine now, but...
No, looks like we froze.
You again?
I don't know.
On your computer?
Let's see if this comes back. All right, we'll see if we're back now. I don't know. We'll see if it comes back. If not, I'll have to... We are having, I don't know.
Oh yeah, I see us moving there.
Maybe we're back. Are we back? I think we're back. Okay, I think we're back.
It was working and it stopped.
This is... All right, let's see if that works. Man, I tell you one thing, we're having a rough time with, let's see, it says it's excellent now. I'm getting excellent now.
Okay.
So
I thought you switched over to the other internet on your computer.
I did, but I figured to switch back, and I may have switched back or something, but hopefully we're back now. We'll get started. We'll start this thing over again. I'm not going to go back to the things, but hopefully it's working. Now let us know if you're seeing it's good. Let us know if it's working.
I can't wait to get to our actual story. I am super excited to talk about the crappie thing. I do not know
Senior Stereo.
what is happening.
I think the cops are tapping your channel. Yeah.
They're after us.
Because we are such huge streaming force out.
I know.
You're such
They're
a
back.
huge streaming force.
They're cutting the lines down the street.
Oh my goodness, I get thrown off the internet. Okay. All right, let's get into our stories before we lose the stream again. Let's just
I don't
right into
know.
it.
What were we talking about? Popping corks?
We're talking about popping corks.
I don't know. We made new popping
All right.
corks.
What do you want to talk? You know what I did? I mentioned the interview.
Did you?
Yeah. We're not going to mention it again. All right.
You said Tucker.
I said don't say it again.
Oh, sorry.
Don't say it again.
Sorry. YouTube's
They're
going to
gonna get us. All right. What story do you want to do first? You want to do Sheepshead first?
No, the other one.
Okay.
I still don't know.
I don't know what's
what
going on
he did
with this.
wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is so weird,
Yeah.
and it's almost like somebody swatted this guy because it's like some random.
It is random.
Person called in and said, "Well, I don't think he's following the rules," and he's
Yeah.
like, "Well, I am following the rules." And
Yeah. Well, let's get into it. It says here, this is out of Kansas. I did everything I was supposed to do. Kansas wildlife officials remove angler's trophy catch from state record list. That sucks on like every level. It
you
says
catch a state record, and then they're just like, "Well, we had an anonymous phone call."
yeah. It says Bobby Parkhurst had cause to celebrate in 2023 after he broke a nearly 60-year-old Kansas state fishing record dubbed the Catch of a Lifetime. He did this until his catch was taken off the record by wildlife officials. What happened to Parkhurst's record? KSNT 27 News investigated this question by reaching out to get the bottom. They have so many puns. The fishy situation.
I know.
It's terrible.
It's terrible.
It's terrible. Anyway, he caught and I'll show you the pictures here. You guys are having fun in the chat there. That's great. Grant, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Anyway, he caught the fish measured 18 inches, 14-inch girth, and weighed 4.07
Can you imagine
pounds.
a 4-pound crappie?
That is,
or as you guys say, crappie.
Yeah, that
Can
is
you imagine?
incredible. Absolutely incredible.
I definitely would be happy.
Look at the pictures of this. I mean, if you're listening to the podcast and you're not able to see the pictures, he has pictures of this just absolute beast of a crappie, and you can see the pictures here. Just he holds up next to the sign to show just how big it is.
It's like it's as big as a bass.
He has
It's
the
as
measuring
big as
tape
a
there
bass.
showing it. He holds it up to his leg to show how big it is. So just an absolute stud of a fish that he caught here. And it says the record beaten by Parkhurst, and this is where it gets a little crazy. The way they phrased this, I think, was really poor writing on behalf of this channel. Mm-hmm. But it said the record beaten by Parkhurst last year measured that the previous one was 17.5 inches. That's what they didn't say. It was the previous record.
Yes, the previous one was 17 and a half.
And weighed 4.0.
And he caught one.
He
that's
caught
18
one
inches.
18 and weighed 4.07.
Right.
This is 4.02.
So he barely beat it.
So just by on the weight. Now, a half inch on the length, but just a
So
little
I don't
bit.
know if they go by length or weight, but
Yeah. And it says this is once again the current standard. So it says at the time, Parker's ready to throw it back without checking to see if it was a record, but his family and friends were like, don't throw it back. And he says, I didn't think I had it beat. He shared his plan with KSNT 27 News to get the fish mounted as a gift for one of his kids. It's kind of but then he changed his mind when law enforcement visited his home.
and stole the fish.
And took the fish, yeah.
They went in his freezer and took the fish.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah,
Parker said game wardens came to his home and took the fish he had caught under a search warrant. The spokesperson from the, I guess this would be Kansas Department of Parks and Wildlife, or Wildlife and
Yeah,
Parks,
they
I don't
had
know.
the game wardens came.
It says confirms law enforcement seized the frozen fish in connection to a formal investigation. The article says they didn't tell me anything. I don't understand why they're doing this to me. Claiming to get confused in the aftermath, Parkhurst tried to get answers from KDWP, but he has yet to get his fish back. They just took just such a weird thing. And then it says that the Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks updated its original press release issued on Parkhurst's record crappie catch. A statement added to the top of the release states that under further review by wildlife officials, the crappie caught by Parkhurst could not be confirmed. And it says here that at the bottom of the application, I looked up the application, you fill out an application of how you caught it. It says there was not an error in the verification process, rather information supplied to the department by the angler via his written application form was not, quote, true and correct.
So you're saying that he marked some box that said this is not true? Wait, what?
I don't know, because I don't know what's going on there.
If they have the fish, I know it's frozen, it might, lose a little bit. Why can't they just remeasure the weight?
Well, because on the form it says that the fish cannot be frozen.
Okay.
So maybe they got him on a technicality?
You mean you're not allowed to freeze it after you catch it?
Yeah, when I pulled up the application, and maybe I can do this real quick on the fly here. When I pulled up the right here, it says the fish cannot be frozen to be weighed. You can put it on ice, but don't put it in your freezer.
But he didn't put it in the freezer till after, right?
I don't know, but that could have been what they got him on. It says that the Kansas Department of Wildlife Parks received a tip. So
yes, that's what I'm saying. Somebody called it in.
Following the announcement of the new state record of Parkhurst catch in April last year. So somebody just didn't like this guy. That's what it comes down to in my mind.
How would they even know, first of all, what he caught, that it was a new state record? Well, maybe they might have at the news story, but how would they know what he did with the fish, what his paperwork looked like? So somebody tipped, has to be a friend or family member or somebody on the inside, right?
Yeah, it has to be. It has to be somebody that knew what had happened.
Yeah. What is really going on
there?
And
said, he's lying. I can't let this lie stand. Kind of like.
No, he's got it in the freezer.
Yeah, John, I agree with you. It is some BS. It is something just weird going on there. And so check this out. It says at the bottom, when asked what went wrong with Parkhurst's application, the spokesperson, I'm not going to try and pronounce the spokesperson name, Margie maybe, said that the issue came from the listed weight of the white crappie on the form. So I think that's what they got him on.
You're saying, what if he listed it as being 4.08 and it was only 4.07?
No, they listed at 4.07, but if he had froze it, that's, I don't know, ice weight? That extra 10th
Yeah,
of an
but he
ounce?
still had it on the inches, right?
Yeah, they had it. We had it a half inch on the inches. Yeah,
so
for sure.
Didn't that matter?
I don't know. It says the fish appeared normal and healthy and was accurately identified by the staff. However, had the application filled out accurately by the angler, it would not have qualified as a state record. So it has to be on the weight. That's the only thing I can think of. They're not saying that outright. But all I can figure is it was frozen prior to weighing. And that's what they got him on. That's the only thing I can figure. You look confused. I'm just angry about this.
Because he said, I went through other procedures. Surely he went right over to some place to weigh it in before he froze it.
I don't know.
Same day,
he says
right?
he does everything by the book. And the thing about it is, I don't even think he was fishing for the trophy.
Yeah, but it's not like you get thousands of dollars for this.
No,
you don't get any money, so who's reporting it and who's all worried about it?
Somebody got
Who's got a stick? Anyway, we'll stop there.
Yeah, John, haters gonna hate. I do agree. Yeah, maybe somebody was jealous. Maybe it was it could have been this. I read the original article just to find out. So there was a family fishing trip, and it was a family and friends were all there. And maybe he picked up somebody else's rod with it, it was like your brother-in-law's rod, and you pick. I'm guessing. I don't know this for sure, so don't. But he picks up.
Because crappie, you just kind of let it sit.
Yeah, just kind of letting it sit there. It's just kind of hanging out there. From what I understand, they were packing up to leave, and the rod just kind of sitting there. But maybe it's somebody else's rod, and he goes over and picks it up, and it's got the.
You think this is jealousy, vendetta? Just that fish didn't weigh that. You put it in the freezer, and so he's just. Yeah, I don't know.
I feel bad for him though. I do. I think he's kind of the short end of this one. I don't know. What do you guys think? Grant says it has been a while since I've caught a 2-pound, never a 3. I can't imagine a 4. Yeah, 4-pound. That's definitely a lifetime catch.
But then you still want to get it, with the taxidermist.
That's
and
the thing.
They stole the fish.
The good thing is with taxidermists now, you can do pictures
maybe
maybe and kind of recreate it, maybe. But I just think it stinks. I really do think that somebody was kind of mad at him or something, and they took his fish. That's what I think happened. I think it's that simple. Because people get jealous about weird stuff, they really do. People get jealous about just the weirdest things. So I think maybe it could be that. But poor guy. All right, let's go on to the next one. All right. This one is, and this is for those of us that are saltwater anglers. So stay with us if you're a freshwater angler, because maybe you'll find some of this interesting to you. But for those of us on the coast, we are getting ready to go into sheepshead season. Peak sheepshead season peaks out around April, and we're getting ready to start because it's going to be there. So I am looking forward to that because sheepshead are one of our favorite fish to eat.
Tiny mouths, but lots of teeth.
And they can be challenging to catch if you don't know what you're doing. I have been out. We were out on our boat. We were pulling them in left and right, and the boats around us weren't. And so finally, we told them this is what we're doing, and they started catching them too. Because normally, if you find one, you're going to find a bunch.
Yeah, they're there.
They're there. They're schooling. So and around this part, they can get really big. So we wanted to, as we're going into that season, wanted to maybe talk about some tips to help you with sheepshead fishing, depending on where you are, what baits are available, and things like that. So this comes from Sport Fishing Mag, fishing tips for big sheepshead. And let us know if you agree with these tips or not, and let us know. So this is where to find. I'm not going to go through all the things. I don't care about that. This is where to find them. Obviously, sheepshead like structure. That is a big piece of it. So you're going to look for some sort of structure. It's going to be docks, piers, seawalls, bridges, rock piles, reefs, anything along those lines. We used to find them next to pylons. In Corpus, there was a place that was a kind of like had a whole bunch of sunken structure, and we would find them around there. So you're looking for structure. That's going to be key. That's going to be your first key. They're not going to be just swimming around. They're not a predator fish. So to speak. They are in some respects. They eat shrimp and crab and barnacle and stuff like that. Grant says limits on sheepshead. I think you're allowed, and John, maybe you can help me out on this one, or somebody, Ben, I think it's 5 per person per day, and they have to be 14 inches, I believe. They just changed the regulation on it. It's either 14 or 15, but I'll have to look that up. But I think it is 5 per person per day. And that's kind of funny too, because most guides, if you go out and you get them, they hate to clean them because they are tough to get through. They have some tough scales,
especially if you wait 3 or 4 hours to do it.
Yeah, they can get kind of tough. But anyway, so old docks, canals, anything like that where there's like crustaceans, oyster shell, anything like that where barnacles and small things are going to be, because thank you, John. 15, yeah, okay.
And they do.
It was 13 for a while there.
They do like deeper water typically.
Yeah, typically you're not getting so.
They're not going to be like 2 feet. They like some rock piles that go a little bit deeper. So they can.
Yeah. So old docks, anything like that, where barnacles, small crustaceans are going to be. That's really what you're looking for to target them. And it says that anglers fishing late fall through winter in the Gulf fisheries will find them. That's true, because they gather together for spawning, and so when they school up, that's where we're going to target. That's why I said we're coming into the peak of that season there. Best baits for sheephead, we use live shrimp.
But
that's what we use a lot of.
But we do something different with the live shrimp.
Yeah,
so,
we do.
When people are fishing with live shrimp, typically they just put the shrimp on and cast it out. But they're tiny little mouths with all those little teeth. All they do is grab on to the back end and pull it right off. And so you think you just have bait stealers because that's what they keep doing. So the idea is to get a small hook and cut your shrimp into like thirds. You want a small piece. Yeah. That way they just go for the whole entire hook and you can hook them easier.
Yeah, we tend to thread the shrimp onto the hook, whether it be a circle hook or a kale hook. Those are the two we use. I don't use J hooks. But we thread the shrimp onto the actual hook. So they have
it. If you give them the whole shrimp, they'll take the whole shrimp.
Yeah, if you traditionally hook your shrimp through the tail, through the horn, something like that, they'll just rip it right off.
I mean, that works for the redfish because they will swallow it whole, but not the sheepshead if you're going for them.
So it says every predator we eat shrimp. That's what it says. Fresh shrimp often delivers a good eating size fish. Located on, they said also, and I don't know if we get fiddler crabs like this around here. I've not seen them. You might be able to, depending on where you are, but they do like fiddler crabs as well. They do like to eat on those. What I have seen some people do when they get to where they're fishing for sheepshead is they'll kind of chum the waters. They'll take like a scraper with them and they'll go down the sides of the structure to knock off barnacles and all that stuff, and then the sheepshead all come in. So I have seen people do that as well.
And I did see that in the article, like if you're using a crab or something like that with a hard shell, something they have to get past, they'll hit it once to crack it, bam, with their teeth, and then they'll hit it again to eat it. So
yeah.
So keep that in mind if you're using a hard bait like that.
Yeah, and so here they talk about the tricky bite. And the old saying goes, and I've heard people say this, you have to set the hook before the sheephead bites because they're going to hit it. And they even talk about that. It says the first bite seeks to crack it and immobilize it. The second is to ingest the meal. So a lot of people try to set the hook almost too early. And
they jerk it out.
And they jerk it right out of its mouth, and then they don't have it. And especially if you're fishing with shrimp, you're almost waiting. I mean, they're going to hit it like it's like the best way I can say is it's almost like a dance with them. The first couple of ones you're probably going to miss if you're unfamiliar with sheepshead fishing. You're just going to miss them because you're not used to the way they bite. They do not bite like the other fish bite, at least in my experience. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how my experience has been. And I do use knocker rigs, and knocker rigs are very easy to use. And that's the exact rig that I use. You can actually use jig heads as well. That's another way that we do it with jig heads. We'll throw a jig head and let it drift through the water column and let them hit it. And that's also an effective way of doing that.
They also like to swim down, so they feel a lot stronger than what they are. So you think you've got this huge... sheepshead, because it's, if it were a redfish, for example, it would be swimming out, so it doesn't feel as heavy. So those sheepshead, they'll swim straight down if they get hooked, and you that's what I was teaching my son to catch it. I told him just be patient, don't jerk it out. So when he feels, something's hit it, don't just jerk it out. Wait till something goes, okay, now just hold on, instead of jerking it out, just let him take it down. Bait when you feel it.
With them.
Yeah.
You're going to lose a bunch of hits because it's just the way they hit. Senior Mysterioso says circle hooks are no bueno for sheepies. I've learned that lesson the hard way. Yeah, I don't do circle hooks for them. Circle hooks are good for like black drum, redfish, even trout. I don't use them though. I use kale hooks, and but for sheepshead I use really small ones. Like they're less than the 1/0. They're just really small hooks that I use there. And then Ben says, I have a friend who refuses to eat a fish that has better teeth than he does. Yeah, they do have some crazy teeth. I was showing a friend came over to the house tonight to pick up his kids from a music lesson Karen was teaching them, and he didn't know what a sheepshead was. And so I was telling him about the live stream, what we were going to talk about, and he was like, well, what's a sheepshead? And I showed him a picture of him, and he was like, oh, that's interesting. And I said, what's interesting is their teeth. And he was just like, man, you could rip out those teeth and make dentures out of them. And I was like, yeah, probably. They do have some crazy teeth.
Why do you think it's called a sheep's head? And I would call them jailbirds if I first saw it.
Some places they're called convicts.
Convicts?
Yeah, in some places they're called convicts. Up at the beginning of the article, it actually says hefty sheepshead, some would call heads, can be, and I've never heard that. But so I don't know why they're called sheepshead. I don't know. I don't know why. But in any case, if you have any tips in the chat about what you do for sheepshead, I think your biggest tips are finding structure. I think use small hooks. And be patient with them.
Bait that can hang on.
If
your shrimp is not going to hang on, use smaller pieces.
Yeah, but this is the time of year to get out there and get them. So if you're near jetties or you have access to a boat and you can get out there and find the structure, get out there and slay them. Because there's some big ones out there this time of year. And they are fun to catch. They are good to eat. And so that is all kinds of fun. So let's go ahead and get into unsolicited advice. Before we get into that, John says we use a float too. Yeah, you can. You can catch them with popping corks, floats. I saw somebody use for those of you that are catfish anglers, Santee Cooper rigs to do them as well. So there is different. Then you can put a float down low and just get it to pop up a little bit off the bottom, almost like a Carolina rig.
My favorite is just to use a jig head until I get to the depth that I'm finding.
That's
the
what
bites.
you like the best. You like the jig
until
head.
I find the bites.
All right, so in this unsolicited advice, we go to Reddit to find out the question that the predators have, and this is on pier fishing guidance. So gonna help give some pier fishing. Looking to take my son saltwater fishing. I'm very familiar with freshwater fishing, but I've never gone saltwater fishing besides a guided tour. Curious what tackle and rod and bait is suggested for dropping a line off a pier. And that is a good question, because I know a lot of people are looking for beginner tips. You want to go out there and go fishing with your family, and you just don't know really what you're doing. We've all been there. If you didn't grow up fishing, that's something that you all have to do. So if I was telling somebody today to go pier fishing, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to go to Academy and get some of those, because they probably don't know how to make their own rigs. Get some of those double rigs that have floats on them already.
Like the pompano rigs?
Yeah, like a pompano rig. Get some of those with that already have the hooks and everything on them, but they have 2 separate ones, and then you hook it to your line. Just tie it right on.
Fisherman's knot.
And then I would add a weight. And then tell them to drop it, pretty much straight down. And I would tell them to use live shrimp if they're just going pier fishing. I would tell them also to get a net. The best one I found is from Cabela's, actually.
Circle net.
And people forget to bring a drop net.
Yeah, I've taken my big circle hoop net down to the piers all the time to help people land big fish. They can't possibly get up to the size of the pier, but that drop net can get down to get them. And then as for rod and reel, the simplest one I would say, Shakespeare makes I think it's like $30. It's a pre-made package of a reel rod combo it's already rigged up. So if you don't have anything, I would say that's an easy place to start. A $30 rod that's already has line on it. It comes with a little bit of tackle, and get out there. And
you can also do just a single drop.
Yeah, you can. Single drops are fine.
Kind of thing, but you'll need a weight if you're going pier fishing.
Yeah.
You'll need a weight.
Ben says, pier fishing, be ready to throw out those. Yeah, that is one of the things that, people can be very territorial, shall we say, on piers. Especially if you're getting out there at dusk, get out there early.
Yeah.
Get out there early, get your spot.
So what I think his point is even if you did that, there are people who would just oh, you're catching fish, and stand right next to you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that happens. You're probably going to get tangled on something. You're probably going to get cut off on something because there's going to be structure down there. You're just going to try and be polite as you possibly can. I don't recommend casting really off of piers very much. If you want to drop or just simply, underhanded toss out, you don't really need to get very far away from the pier. I know some of the guys that are going out for... It really depends on the pier.
It does.
If you're going to that one, in Aransas Pass or Port Aransas Pier or Corpus Pier, there's a couple piers down there. What are they called? There's a big one in Port Aransas called, it starts with an H.
You're talking about... You're talking about the one that goes into the ocean or into the Gulf? Mm-hmm. Yeah. What you would say cast off of there?
No, I'd say that one you just probably don't have to cast. You're way too tall. But if you're at the Sabine Lake Pier that we have, where it's just a small wooden pier, maybe you could cast and you don't have to drop it right down.
But if you're casting off a pier, be sure you know how to cast, because you definitely will. Getting tangled with other people. It's the same thing with jetty fishing. Horse caldwell.
That's what I was like. It starts with an H, but that one we always had fun catching sharks off.
Sharks,
pretty regularly.
Sharks and whiting.
So that's why we needed that net.
I think that's pretty much all we ever caught off there: sharks and whiting.
Well, and that's partly because after a certain time when we weren't taking the kids, we decided to use cut bait. We would catch a ladyfish with the shrimp, and then we'd cut it up and toss that out, and that cut ladyfish would tend to catch sharks or redfish that were a little bit bigger and more fun.
And a lot of times there'll be a tackle shop that's nearby, and you can always talk to them about what are fish hitting, what are people catching. They tend to know. That's a good thing to do too.
If you're going at night too, you can target trout.
Yeah,
because they like the lights.
The lights.
There's little trout rigs you can get.
Yeah, Senior Mysterioso says a lighted pier at night with live shrimp and some spec rigs will keep everyone entertained. Mm-hmm. Freshwater gear will work just fine. You're right about that. You can go out there with your bass rod, absolutely, because there's no reason why you can't. I mean, it's like you don't have to be
Just
proud.
don't drop it
Yeah, that's
in
a
the
good thing.
water.
You don't need heavy tackle for some. No, I would agree with that too. You don't need, if I'm doing heavy tackle, that's because I'm fishing off the beach and I
Yeah.
need to get past breakers. But pier fishing is. I mean, actually tomorrow I haven't asked Karen yet, but tomorrow morning I was thinking about going to the pier. I don't think the weather's going to allow us to get our boat out. But just go to the pier in the morning and just mess around with our new popping corks and things, because it's easy. Anybody can go on a pier. It's very, very simple to do. So don't overthink it. Get your tackle, go out there, and then a lot of times when I'm catching fish in a pier. Now this is me. I don't know what you guys do with this, but 9 times out of 10 when I'm on a pier, somebody's going to ask me questions about fishing. And, I just answer them the best I can. And so if you don't be proud and think you can't ask questions of people that maybe look like they know more than you do, or maybe they're from the area. A lot of times anglers, if you're being kind and courteous and respectful of one another, they're going to offer all kinds of information to you, because they want you to have fun too. Now you'll find some people that are not interested and
some
won't be
people
helpful.
are like, "Are you going to throw that back? I want it."
I want it, yeah.
Even catfish, everything.
Yeah, so don't be afraid to ask questions when you're on the pier. Especially if you can strike up a conversation with
the
someone.
problem with going back to that pier is that mean old pelican.
Yeah,
we had this mean old pelican, and every time we started fishing and turn around, he ran over and would snatch the bait bag and go running off with it.
He was aggressive.
He would take our shrimp. He would take our cut bait. It was the meanest pelican. And then when you tried to grab the back from him, he tried to attack us.
Yeah, he was
nutso
crazy pelican.
Yeah, I was like, wow.
Ben says pier fishing in the beach, you can find all kinds of fish, trout, croaker, drum, sharks, angels, sheepies, and the list goes on. And that's it. That's why it's so much fun. That's one of the things that gets you hooked on saltwater fishing. It's why I'm not much of a bass fisherman, a freshwater fisherman, because there's just so many different species out there to enjoy and to catch. And so
there's nothing wrong with eating. Actually, I have catfish in my freezer. It's just the hardhead saltwater catfish that I tend to not keep, just because most of it is wasted.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like when you try to clean those, there isn't much meat on a catfish like this size.
Yeah.
So, but the freshwater, I definitely keep those and fry those up.
Right.
It's just the saltwater
blue
hardheads
catfish, channel catfish.
Yeah, those are fine. It's just the hardheads that are if they're small, they don't have much meat in them.
Ben, there's a story for you. I taught a kid a good way to hold a hardhead, and the dad was mean mugging me. I want to know more about that story, because for anybody that's been stabbed by hardheads, if somebody would have come up to me, because not being from, the first time I encountered him, I had no idea what I was catching, because I didn't grow up in Texas. I grew up in Maryland. We don't have them. And so the first time I was handling them, I just didn't understand even the danger of what they could do to you. If somebody would have come up to me and said, "Hey, you want to be careful with that because it'll mess you up."
Yeah.
I would have definitely listened.
Even the little tiny one will hurt you.
I got busted in between my hand right there, and I still got a divot from it. And then I got busted on the back of my finger, and made my whole arm go numb. It bleeds like crazy. So man, if there was somebody out there who was like, "Hey, yeah, this is how you hold those things." I do get people on the piers sometimes if we catch like a stingray. I always remove the barbs. People don't like that sometimes, but I do because it could save somebody's life and it doesn't hurt the animal. And they grow them back anyway, but I do remove the barbs when handling those. We get that in the channel. Sometimes people go, "Oh no, you're handling the stingray. Be careful, Steve Irwin." And I'm like, it doesn't have the barb. We already took that off. Yeah, so you gotta be careful. That is a good, now that you're mentioning that about pier fishing and things, that is something that I don't think we talk about enough, is make sure you're handling fish properly, because you can get hurt. In the Gulf, there's lionfish. They have poisonous spikes on them. You have stingrays, channel catfish. You got all kinds of animals out there. Even sharks. I've seen people get bit by sharks because they weren't handling. We've all seen the videos of a guy who's not handling the shark properly and he gets bit, and you're just like, well,
yeah, oh yeah.
I guess that's a hard way to learn. But Grant says, "I've been stabbed in the toe by a channel cat." Really? channel catfish. You know, I did not know that. I guess they could. They do have spikes, and depending on how it gets you, and the pain is real. It says because he wanted his son to
keep doing it.
To keep doing it. To keep. How are they handling the hard head? He wanted his son to get hurt by it, or man, that'd be mean. You kid, you have a hard head to play with. I don't know, man.
I don't know.
Anyway, so
Well, you gave him a warning. That's the important.
that's the thing. Yeah. Okay. So, bottom line for those of you that want to know more about pier fishing, you don't need anything really expensive to do it. Now, I don't think you need to spend all kinds of money if you don't. Matter of fact, even some piers rent your rods. I mean, if you really don't want to go out and buy anything, you can't even rent them. So that's one thing.
Borrow from a friend.
Borrow from a friend. No, I wouldn't run down my rods. but you know, $30, $40 at Academy, get you a rod and reel combo for saltwater. So there you go. Live shrimp is probably your ticket, or some sort of cut bait, cut mullet, something like that. Is going to be your key baits in this area, depending on where you are. You know, your bait's going to vary. Get down on bottom. That's another thing. Make sure that if you're bottom fishing, make sure you're getting all the way down to the bottom, and just enjoy it. Have fun, learn, ask questions. And
I have seen some poppers at a pier too. So,
you can use them. I mean, they can work. There's no reason why they can't. So. All right. Well, I hope you all have an amazing weekend. I hope the weather allows you to get out there and do something amazing, because I know for us, I don't know. I'm hoping maybe tomorrow morning we'll be able to get out, maybe just do some pier fishing, just because the waves and the wind on the Sabine are going to be too much, and we've had so much fresh water come in through the two tributaries, that just so much fresh water. So I don't think that we'll be out there on the boat, but maybe the pier. I'll get out there for a couple hours, see if anything's swimming by, and see if we can get anything that way. We do have some videos out, so make sure you check out those if you have not already. We are very close to 2,000. If we didn't hit that tonight, we are very close. I think like 1 or 2 subs off of 2,000, so that's awesome. So if you have not done so already, subscribe to the channel. We do appreciate that. Check out our merch and all that, and have a great weekend. Until next time,
may the fish be with you.
Catch you later. So I switched over.